On the night of August 15, 1977, a radio telescope in Delaware, Ohio, picked up a signal from deep space that was so powerful, so precise, and so unlike anything natural that the astronomer reviewing the data 3 days later circled it in red ink and wrote a single word in the margin: "Wow." That signal lasted 72 seconds. It has never been detected again. It matched every criterion scientists had established for what an extraterrestrial transmission should look like. And in nearly 50 years since, no one has been able to definitively explain where it came from. This is the wow signal, and it might be the closest humanity has ever come to hearing from someone else. The signal was detected by the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University's Perkins Observatory. Big Ear was not a dish like most people picture when they think of radio telescopes. It was a flat, football field-sized array, an aluminum ground plane flanked by two reflectors that looked more like a drive-in movie screen than a piece of cutting-edge science. It had been operating since 1963, and, by 1973, had been repurposed for SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The telescope worked by scanning the sky as the Earth rotated. It couldn't point at a specific object. Instead, it watched a narrow strip of sky drift past, like a camera on a tripod filming whatever moves across the frame. Any signal from a fixed point in space would appear for exactly 72 seconds, the time it took for that point to cross the telescope's beam width. This detail becomes critical. The man who found it was Jerry Eman, a volunteer astronomer working on the SETI project. On August 18, 1977, Eman was reviewing printouts of data recorded 3 days earlier. The data was displayed as a grid of alphanumeric characters. Numbers 1 through 9 represented increasing signal intensity, and letters A through Z continued the scale for stronger signals. Most of the printout was 1s and 2s, background noise. Then Eman hit a column that read 6 EQUJ5. The U represented a signal intensity roughly 30 times louder than the background noise. Nothing like it had appeared before. Nothing like it has appeared since. The WOW signal had several remarkable properties. It was narrowband, concentrated on a single frequency, at approximately 1420.4556 MHz. This is extraordinarily close to 1420.405 MHz, the emission frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. This frequency matters because in 1959, physicists Giuseppe Cocconi and Philip Morrison published a landmark paper arguing that if extraterrestrial civilizations wanted to communicate across interstellar distances, they would likely transmit near the hydrogen line. It's a frequency that any technologically advanced species would know because hydrogen is universal. It's also a relatively quiet part of the radio spectrum, less interference from natural sources. The hydrogen line is, in essence, the most logical channel for interstellar communication. The signal also rose and fell in intensity in a pattern perfectly consistent with a point source in the sky passing through the telescope's beam. Exactly what you'd expect from a fixed source in deep space, as opposed to a terrestrial or orbital source that would behave differently. And it was strong. Extraordinarily strong. If it originated from the direction the telescope was pointing, near the constellation Sagittarius, toward a region of sky with no remarkable stars, then whatever transmitted it was either very powerful or very close by astronomical standards, or both. The WOW signal met every criterion that SETI researchers had outlined for what an artificial extraterrestrial signal should look like. Narrowband, near the hydrogen line, consistent with a point source. No known natural phenomenon produces a signal with these combined characteristics. But science requires repeatability, and this is where the WOW signal falls short. Despite more than 100 subsequent observations of the same patch of sky by Big Ear and by other, more sensitive radio telescopes, the signal has never been detected again. Not once. If it was a deliberate transmission from an extraterrestrial civilization, why only once? If it was a beacon, you'd expect it to repeat. If it was a directed message, the odds of catching a single transmission aimed at a specific target during a 72-second window are astronomically small. The silence that followed is almost as mysterious as the signal itself. Eman and other researchers immediately tried to determine where the signal came from. The Big Ear had two feed horns, essentially two beams scanning the sky side by side, separated by about 2 minutes. The signal appeared in only one horn. This meant either the source had turned on and off within that 2-minute window, or there was something about the signal's position that fell into only one beam's sensitivity range. The location was narrowed to two possible regions in the sky, near the constellation Sagittarius, west of the globular cluster M55. Neither region contains any remarkable stars, planets, or other objects that would obviously produce such a signal. Eamon himself was cautious throughout his life. In interviews, he consistently said he didn't think the signal was extraterrestrial, not because the evidence pointed elsewhere, but because he couldn't confirm it. "I don't think it's ET," he said in a 2010 interview, "but I also can't explain it." Eamon passed away in 2022, still uncertain about what he'd found. The first and most obvious question, could it have been terrestrial? A satellite, a military transmission, a microwave oven at the observatory? The 42020 MHz hydrogen line is a protected frequency. It's internationally reserved for radio astronomy, and transmitting on it is illegal. While accidental interference is always possible, the signal's behavior, rising and falling exactly as a celestial source should, argues strongly against a terrestrial origin. Could it have been a known astronomical phenomenon? Pulsars produce regular radio signals, but they're broadband, not narrowband. Quasars are powerful, but also broadband. Masers, natural microwave amplifiers in space, can produce narrowband signals near the hydrogen line, but known masers in that region of sky don't match the signal's characteristics. Interstellar scintillation, the twinkling of radio sources caused by irregularities in the interstellar medium, could theoretically amplify a weak signal into a brief, strong burst. This is plausible, but has never been demonstrated to produce the specific characteristics of the WOW signal. In 2017, astronomer Antonio Paris published a paper proposing that the WOW signal was caused by hydrogen gas in the coma of a comet, specifically either Comet 266P Christensen or Comet P 2008Y2 Gibbs. Both comets were in the approximate region of sky at the time, though neither was discovered until decades later. Paris argued that hydrogen emission from the cometary coma could produce a narrowband signal near 1420 MHz. He conducted observations of Comet 266P in 2017 and reported detecting a signal consistent with his hypothesis. The astronomy community was largely skeptical. Critics pointed out that comets have been observed extensively at radio wavelengths and have never produced signals remotely resembling the WOW signal in intensity. The signal strength observed by Big Ear would require a hydrogen emission millions of times more powerful than any comet has ever been observed to produce. Furthermore, the comet positions at the time were approximate. The orbital calculations going back to 1977 carry significant uncertainty. Several independent researchers concluded that neither comet was actually within the telescope's beam at the time of the detection. The Comet Hypothesis has not been accepted by the broader scientific community, though Paris maintains his position. Here is the honest scientific summary of the WOW signal as it stands today. It was a real signal. It was not instrument error. It was not a known type of radio interference. It behaved exactly as an extraterrestrial point source should. It was at the most logical frequency for interstellar communication, and it was never repeated. No natural explanation has been confirmed. No artificial explanation has been confirmed. The signal occupies a genuinely unique position in the history of science, a single, anomalous data point that fits perfectly into a theoretical framework, but cannot be verified because it happened once and only once. Modern SETI has far more sophisticated equipment than the Big Ear, which was demolished in 1998 to make way for a golf course, a fact that still stings in the astronomy community. The Allen Telescope Array, the Green Bank Telescope, and projects like Breakthrough Listen monitor millions of frequencies simultaneously across wide swaths of sky. If the WOW signal repeated today, we'd catch it. We'd locate it precisely. We'd know within hours what it was. But it hasn't repeated, and maybe it never will. The WOW signal is not proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. It's important to be clear about that. What it is, though, is the single best candidate for an artificial extraterrestrial signal ever detected. And that's not a fringe opinion. That's the assessment of mainstream SETI researchers. It appeared once, for 72 seconds, at precisely the frequency we'd expect an intelligent species to use, from a direction in space with no obvious natural source. It hasn't been explained by any known natural phenomenon. It hasn't been replicated despite decades of trying. The universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old. It contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies. In our galaxy alone, there are more planets than stars. The question isn't really whether something is out there. The question is whether we'd recognize the signal if we heard it, and whether we already have. If someone out there transmitted a single message in our direction, and we caught exactly 72 seconds of it on a summer night in Ohio in 1977, what do you think they were trying to say? Let us know in the comments.